Hello, welcome to Atheist Torah Study. My name is Emma, and I am the host. Today's Parsha is Parsha Ki Tisa. It is Exodus chapter 30, verse 13. So this will be really fun. We're going to get into this. I think this is like one of the best texts for um, Atheist Torah Study. It's really fun, and it's the highlight of the text is the story of the golden calf. And what I love so much about the story of the golden calf is that it's a story about people resisting oppression. It's a story about people resisting religious hierarchy, resisting authoritarianism, people choosing to strike it out on their own, thinking for themselves, being assertive, being independent, being creative. And it's one of the reasons I still love to read the Torah because so much of the Torah is about it's written from the framework of somebody who kind of wants to control the population. There's this desire to have this just like complete control of everything about everybody for all time. And this is kind of the very heart of it right here. And what I love about the text is that the text preserves the fact that people don't want to do that and that they're going to resist it. And in a way, because it preserves it and it doesn't just wipe it out, it elevates it. And so it's this way of telling me from all the generations ever since this has been written that this is one of the stories of human experience. There's always going to be like people are going to gather together and they're going to create these hierarchies and they're going to make up invisible gods or invisible rules or invisible ideas and they're going to claim authority over you and over somebody. They're going to claim some kind of authority. And that's and then you're going to resist that, and the people resisting here, the people resisting Moses, resisting God, these are the holy people. These are the people you should emulate and that you should be like, because these are the people who are being creative, they're being independent thinkers, they're thinking in the moment, they're doing their own problem solving. They have everything that they need to try to actually create something that's really holy, and they're going to do it too. I mean, I don't know if I would go around worshiping a golden bull. Maybe that's not the point. The point is, it's I mean, anyways, I'll get into it. I definitely want to read some text, but I just want to summarize the parsha first. So let's see here. So the parsha starts with a census, and a census is, they want to. So at the beginning of the parsha, they're trying to show how many people there are. And again, these are all tools. The as I've gotten into this over the last years, I've kind of explored this. I've explored some different sources, and I've learned a lot about the text. And I'm pretty convinced now that, this text was written. It was mostly compiled around the Hasmonean era, and it was written at a time when they were kind of resisting the influence of Hellenization of Greek thought. And so here's the text that was being written almost as a way in a form of contradiction to Hellenism and to Greek thought. And I'm really definitely part of what I'd like to do with the rest of my Torah study time this year is learn more about the culture of the Hasmoneans, because I think that just is it has so much influence on what the Torah is. And because of that, it also just has this huge influence on what Western society is. But anyways, so the it starts with the census, and then we get to the part about the golden calf, which we're gonna start with the golden calf. I'm gonna read that part first today. And then Moses smashes the tablets. Moses argues with God. God threatens to destroy the people and start over with Moses, which is like the same thing that the story repeated in with Abraham and with Noah. So, uh, yeah, who it's like reruns, you know. It's like Roseanne and then the Connors. It's like you just keep on doing the same ideas over and over again. So then Moses wants to see God, and he wants to see God's face, and nobody can see God's face and live, but you can see God's butt. So that part's in there. I don't know. I guess we'll get to that part next. That's actually probably the next most interesting part. I mean, it's all interesting. You know, this is way more than I could possibly do in an hour. And then Moses has a golden shiny face, you know. It's just like that REM song, Shiny Happy People. So, that's basically what happens in Parsha Ki Tisa. Um, some themes that I might try to explore today. Uh, definitely the golden calf. The golden calf is it's such a great part. Um, so one interpretation of the golden calf could be that human beings often need the message seems to be that human beings need visible leadership in institutions, and without them, communities quickly create substitutes. The golden calf may reflect a very human need for tangible power structures rather than invisible authority. I don't know what I think about that. That's bullshit. Sorry. Um, the golden calf is interesting because it's a compelling really because it's about two different religious narratives. Yeah, so that I mean, I think that that's originally what the golden calf was supposed to be. It's like this um it was written as this interpretation of two different religious narratives. And one religious narrative is the people who worship Baal, and the other one is the people who worship Yahweh. And this is sort of like these two communities and the one who's going to win. So this is kind of the story that it's kind of central to the whole Torah. It's like, are you going to be this? Are you going to believe in this God? Or are you going to believe in that God? So really, it's just like you kind of just have two choices. It's like, are you going to vote Republican or are you going to vote Democrat? You can't vote Green Party or socialist or anything like that. You just have two choices, and the people are always making the wrong choice. That's like one of the main messages of the Torah, that people are always making the wrong choice. Um, yeah, another one is that we might get into this part of the text justifies religious violence, which again is always one of the worst parts of the Torah, but it is a good place for atheism because we see it basically almost every day in the news. We see it. There's somebody killing someone in the name of their religion or in the name of our religion. There's religions being used to take away power from women, to take away power from people who the religion decides are less than, including transgender people like myself. And then the religions are also used as a justification to kill people. And so that's like a huge problem. Um, Moses negotiating with God looks like political negotiation. That's interesting. Uh, I don't know what I think about that. Um, the tabernacle tax as early state funding. Yeah, that's and Moses' radiant face and mythic authority. The idea that leaders possess supernatural legitimacy. That's interesting. Yeah, I might get into that. I don't know. let's just get into the text because the text is the best part here. So again, this is Exodus chapter 30, verse 13, but that's not what I'm going to start with. I'm not going to start at the beginning of Ki Tisa. I want to go all the way down. So right now, so the beginning of Ki Tisa, I'm looking at Safaria, by the way, right now. Safaria.org is where I usually do my text reading. And Safaria.org is a great resource. It basically has like all of the Jewish texts on earth that you could possibly want to read. I mean, more than you can possibly read in your entire lifetime. But it's a great resource, and I use it pretty much all the time. So it Kitisa starts with a bunch of, so I mean the way that the language is framed is God's or Moses is up on the mountain. God is telling Moses everything that he needs to know in order to run his new society and what the covenant is going to be, what this new law is going to be between God and the people. And so this is really foundational. I mean, you have to really understand this is very foundational because this goes beneath nationalism. I mean, in today's day and age, we kind of view nationalism as sort of like the ultimate arbiter of rights. I mean, we sort of, even though the Constitution says that the rights of people are inherent, they're like given to you by quote unquote God or something like that, or natural authority or whatever. Like, in the kind of society that we live in, nationalism really is foundational. Like nationalism is where we get the idea that we have our rights, you know. And so, but this religion here goes much deeper than that. I mean, this is a text that's trying to basically craft what religion always tries to craft, which is like this shortcut to obedience. It's like it's trying to create a compelling narrative that basically is going to encompass your entire life, from the time you're born until the time you die. This religious narrative is going to tell you what to do, what to think, how to eat, how to sleep, how to breathe, where to go, how to organize yourself, who you're supposed to be around, everything. And it's all framed within the idea that there's this invisible higher authority which has basically completely shaped you and is like over you. And this is just unquestioned. And so it's really interesting because it's like it's this combination of like a couple of different things that human beings do. One of the things is, I mean, if you look at human beings, we basically do the same thing as all the other animals. I mean, we're just another animal and we repeat the same traits and characteristics that all the other animals do. And so we don't really need we don't really need some kind of authority over us telling us what to do. I mean, because there's never been any authority. I mean, if there's an authority, the authority is evolution, it's history, it's time, it's survival. You know, I mean, we're really designed for survival and reproduction. I mean, that's really what we're designed for. If you're thinking like some sort of like deep, compelling inner narrative that's actually shaping what we are as animals. I mean, more than anything, it's survival. And then I guess it's reproduction too, because otherwise there's not more animals like us. Um, Although, I mean, when I think about it from an evolutionary perspective, I don't know that I necessarily agree that there's some sort of, I don't know. I mean, I think evolution in some ways is okay if if the if the animals don't get more complex, I mean, they seem to reach a natural limit. Like, so I just finished reading The Sixth Great Extinction this week. Great book, really great book. It's like we're doomed, we're just doomed. I mean, we are just we have just completely blown it, with this planet. We're so doomed. and we just cannot admit it. And one of the things that I love about the sixth grade extinction is that it kind of acknowledges that, like, ever since we started wandering around the earth, we've been like these destructo machines. I mean, first we went around and we killed all the megafauna. So, like, there's a whole section in there about, like, I mean, we killed the giant sloths. I would have loved to have seen a giant sloth. That would have been very cool. Like, it's like we killed all the giant sloths, and we killed the woolly mammoths and the mastodons and basically all of the gigantic animals that had survived for millions of years in in Asia, in Africa, in the Americas. We went around killing them. Now, they probably weren't our main source of food, but they were definitely part of what we ate. And the reason that they had survived for so long is because up until we came along, being really big was a survival strategy. If you got really, really big, then basically nothing could kill you. But being really big meant that there couldn't be a lot of you, and it took a long time to gestate. Being really big is a strategy that animals have had ever since evolution began. Like, it's one of the things, it's one of the hit. I mean, if I was going to write a Torah today, I would love to write a Torah about the Torah of evolution, because evolution has, and that's kind of what science is trying to do, is it's trying to come up with, you know, an understanding of how evolution worked. The problem with science is that then science gets misused in terrible ways. I mean, well, the problem with science it's not really a problem. I shouldn't say that. It's not a problem. The problem with people is that people use the research and discoveries that they've found in science to do terrible things. And so then we get back to the Torah, because it turns out there's actually some good ideas in the Torah about what happens when you let people run wild and try to do things on their own and figure stuff out. I mean, one of the things people can do when they're just running around going crazy is they can all become a bunch of Nazis. They might latch on to some horrible idea and become a bunch of Nazis and have big parties with machine guns, slaughtering all their enemies because they think that's just so great, and that's the answer to the problems of the world. And that happens too. So at its best, the text is a it captures a moment in the writer's imagination, but it's this moment that gets lived out over and over again throughout all of the rest of Western history, because since this was a foundational text, I mean, this really still is a foundational text in so many ways, but since this was a foundational text for most of the Middle Ages and for a lot of the West, it's continued to inform how people understand Western morality. And this is really foundational to how people understand Western morality. Anyways, but read The Sixth Great Extinction. It's a great book. I mean, we are just so in trouble. We just can't even. I mean, I could honestly spend it doesn't have anything to do with this text, but I want to spend a little bit more time on it because I just read the book this week, and it had been on my list for a while. I mean, it's just the evidence is just so overwhelming. I mean, we're in the middle of, they don't know what to call it, but it seems like a lot of people have kind of settled on the Anthropocene. And it's just like, we have so destroyed this planet. I mean, we are just going to get the biggest butt kicking in, like, the history of our existence. And it may not come today, it may not come tomorrow. It's kind of coming right now. I mean, I think that eventually, if the oil market crashes, if we ever run out of oil, or the planet just gets so hot that like, you know, it becomes parts of it become unlivable, we'll really start to notice it. But it's like we have just, but it's not really about, I mean, it's not about oil. Some of it is, but the book is about how extinctions, mass extinctions, are something that happens. They've happened many times in the past 500 million years of life on Earth, and there's no reason to think that we're immune to mass extinction. And in fact, we're the cause of the greatest mass extinction since the last one. I mean, there's been really bad mass extinctions. Probably one of the worst ones is the one we all know about that happened 65 million years ago. And that was a great story. I mean, in the book, she really gets into exactly how it killed most life on Earth. What, it kind of, and all of the evidence and how the scientists discovered that it's great. And we're right in the middle of that too. We're basically a walking mass extinction machine, you know. I mean, if we have a purpose on Earth, if we have a purpose, it's basically to destroy most life on Earth. That's basically what our function seems to be. We're basically destroying everything. We're and I mean, we're going after every environment that that we can destroy too. Every environment, the coral reefs, the Amazon jungle, the atmosphere, oxygen, trees, all of the living things, the stuff that's buried in the ground. We're basically going after all of it. And we're just completely disrupting like everything that has been going good on the planet for millions of years. And the result is just a mass extinction of species. And, at some point, we're going to go extinct too, because that's what happens to all animals, and there's nothing about us we can't escape the fact that we're animals and that we live on the earth and that we have the same rules apply to us as apply to the megafauna, as apply to, you know, the animals out in the forest. Like the same rules that created us are the same rules that created them. And we are so blind to that. I mean, somehow we think that we're immune to that or we can escape it. And it's like when I finished reading the book, I thought, well, to me, the message of the book is that it's like if human beings could stay contained to a very small part of the earth. I mean, if there were like only a certain number of us, like if we were somehow able to limit our in the future, like not through eugenics or anything horrible, but in the future, if somehow we're able to get our population under control to where like there were a lot less of us, again, not talking eugenics. I don't care what skin color the people are or where they live. But if there was like a lot less human beings, like just a huge number less, like just billions less people, and if we were sort of contained to just one small part of the planet, maybe there would be a chance for our survival, you know. I don't know, but even then, I don't think so because I mean, I don't see how we could do it. I mean, we can't control ourselves. We're completely uncontrollable, and that's part of what I love about this part of the Torah too. It's like we're just uncontrollable. I mean, we can't control ourselves. We try, we try over and over again. We try to create societies that can control things, and I mean. What are our big controls right now? The biggest controls in our society right now are what? Nationalism and capitalism and religion. But even that's not enough. you know. But here's one of the things trying to control us is religion. All right. So let's read. Let's do some reading. So the part that I'm skipping over right now is all of the parts where basically God is telling Moses all of the things that Moses needs to know in order to run his new society, which is the society that the Hasmoneans and the authors of the Torah, the redactors of the Torah, basically want as this compelling kind of religious nationalism. And it's a very compelling religious nationalism. It gives people a very secure sense of identity. It tells them what they're supposed to do. And then, so all of that is kind of inscribed into the Torah. And the tablets that Moses brings down from the mountain. So Moses is supposed to be coming down from coming the time is sort of shifting here. So like while the author's writing a story about Moses being up on a mountain and all the things that he's supposed to do while he's up there, um, the that's he's in mystical time. So he's in a kind of time that's mystical and mythic. And then down below are the people, and the people are kind of like on their own timeline. And that's the part that I want to read about. I want to read about what the people are doing because it's very interesting. But what I wanted to say was that the a lot of people think that the tablets that Moses gets are just the Ten Commandments. And maybe they are. But my deeper understanding of how the text is read is that the text is really it's really it's more than just the Ten Commandments. It's basically like everything in the Torah. It's supposed to be like the whole Torah in a way is written on these tablets, you know. I mean, that would be a lot. It's like can't really fit it on there. But it's really like the pieces of stone are really supposed to be symbols of this relationship between this God and like all of these ideas. So it's like this is a carrier. This is like a basket of ideas. And that's really what it is he's bringing down. He's bringing down this basket of ideas or instructions, really, about how these people are supposed to live. And it's very specific to the time. That's why, there's so much in it about what happens if your ox gores somebody's cow, because it's like it's about that time and what they did there. Um, anyways. Okay, so chapter 32. That's where we're going to start. Chapter 32. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who shall go before us." For we do not know what has happened to Moses, the man who brought us from the land of Egypt. Aaron said to them, "Take off the gold rings on the ears of your wives, your sons and daughters, and bring them to me." The people took off the gold rings and brought them to Aaron. This he took from them and cast in a mold and made it into a molten calf. And they exclaimed, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. And Aaron announced, "Tomorrow shall be a festival of God." This is so great. This is just the best. This is like the Torah at its best. Early the next day, the people offered up burnt offerings and brought sacrifices of well-being. They sat down to eat and drink, and then rose to dance. God spoke to Moses, "Hurry down, for your people who you brought out of the land of Egypt are acting basely. They have been quick to turn aside from the way that I enjoined upon them. They have made themselves a molten calf and bowed low to it and sacrificed to it, saying, 'This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt.'" God further said to Moses, I see that this is a stiff-necked people. Now let me be, that my anger may blaze forth against them, and I may destroy them, and make of you a great nation. But Moses implored the Eternal his God, saying, Let not your anger, O Eternal, blaze forth against your people who you delivered from the land of Egypt with a great power and a mighty hand. And then, well, it goes on from there. Thereupon Moses went down from the mountain, bearing the two tablets of the pact. The tablets inscribed on both of their surfaces. They were inscribed on one side and the other. The tablets were God's work. The writing was God's writing, incised upon the tablets. As soon as Moses came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, he became enraged, and he hurled the tablets from his hands and shattered them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf that they had made and burnt it. He ground it to powder and strewn upon the water and made the Israelites drink the water. Moses said to Aaron, What did this people do to you that you have brought such great sin? Aaron said, Let not my Lord be enraged. You know the people is bent on evil. They said to me, Make us a god to lead us, for we do not know what has happened to Moses. So I said to them, Whoever has gold, take it off. And I hurled it into the fire, and out came this calf. Moses saw that people were out of control since Aaron had let them get out of control, and they were a menace. Moses stood up at the gate of the camp and said, Whoever is for God, come here. He said to them, Thus says the Eternal, each of you, put your sword on your thigh, go back and forth from gate to gate throughout the camp, slay sibling, neighbor, and kin. The men of Levi did as Moses had bid, and 3,000 people were killed that day. So there you go, the Torah. There's the Torah. Oh my God. Oh, okay. So that's the Torah. It's not any worse than reading the Christian New Testament or reading a lot of other religions. I mean, it's really not any worse. I mean, all of these texts that were written in ancient times, they all have so many problems. I'm going to take a little break. I'll be right back. Okay, so let's go back and reconstruct this text because this, and again, most of this I'm just not going to have, there's way too much to comment in any Parsha to really be able to get to most of it. So, we just have to kind of do it in bits and pieces. So, but I mean, here's the good part. Okay. The people saw, so in the story, the author is imagining, or the author is writing the story this way because, the people writing the story really want to compel a particular kind of narrative. So what are they concerned about right now? They're concerned about, oh, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many different ways in the text that they're trying to compel religious obedience. They're really, really desperately interested in compelling religious obedience. And there's this idea that is fundamental to the text, and it's foundational to, I would say, definitely to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And it's this foundational idea that somehow people are always going to drift from God. And this is just one of them. And it's about the insecurity of like in the text anyways, it's about the insecurity of people who have religious power, and it's about the concern that they'll lose religious power. And so the text isn't being written from the perspective of the people. It's being written from the perspective of a group that has anxiety about their about their power. They have anxiety about retaining their power. And so they've created a text because what they hope is that the text will maintain and perpetuate their power, and it also maintain and perpetuate the power of religious classes more generally. Only within this religion, though. And part of the problem with the Torah, I mean, it's both one of the problems with the Torah and one of the gifts of language in general, is that these people who wrote these texts were imagining the world in their time. They were trying to imagine a time back before them too, you know. And it's too bad that we can't really see what it was like in the environments where these texts were crafted, because it would give us so much more information to really understand exactly what was compelling them, what their thinking was, you know. But we don't have that information. I mean, so we have to speculate because we don't really know exactly what was compelling them. I mean, all we have is this information, and this information gives us a pretty clear picture of what they're trying to do. I mean, they're trying to create a new kind of society that's based specifically on the text. So the text itself is history, the text itself is origin, the text itself is the end of a story too. Like everything is supposed to be contained within the text. And it's all set in a space that's inaccessible. And by being inaccessible, it helps it to maintain its authority. And so, but it has to do a lot of other things to maintain its authority too. I mean, in order for the text to really be compelling and to be deeply felt, it has to use all of these mental heuristics in order to compel a sense of identity. And this is, I mean, it's propaganda. In a lot of ways, it's propaganda, but it's not just propaganda though. I mean, there's a lot of things in here that are just really true. You know, once you get past the text and once you get past like all the ridiculousness, you know, but you have to let go of that stuff if you really want to see the deeper truths in the text. You know, you have to let go of the ridiculousness in the text because it's really there. And I mean, this is high camp. It's super campy. You know, this is the kind of stuff that I mean, it's fun because it's so campy. And part of what's campy about this part, I mean, part of why I love this is always I always imagine they're having a pride festival when they're doing this part. So anyways, let's go back to the text. It's always good to go back to the text. So in line verse 32, verse 1. Okay. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, the people gathered against Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us a god who shall go before us, for we do not know what has happened to Moses, the man who brought us from the land of Egypt." So the Torah, first of all, okay, I'm going to speak for this moment here. First of all, it's it's still imagining that people are sheep, you know. The Torah kind of imagines the people are sheep. The people are not capable of organizing themselves. And I think that this is something that this is something that it's not just the Torah that does this. I mean, I think that corporations imagine that people are sheep. I think that elected leaders imagine that people are sheep. I think that capitalism imagines that people are sheep. I think that the nation state imagines that people are sheep. I think that there's this it's hard to understand because we can never separate ourselves from the fact that we're just individuals. We're individuals and we exist in a collective society. Now, in in some in some places, your group identity matters a lot more than it does in others. In certain places and times, your group identity becomes much, much more important. If there's not enough food, if there's not enough resources, if there's not enough land, whatever the reason, then whatever kind of group that you happen to associate with, whatever that group is, it becomes more significant, than at other times. When there's plenty to go around, it's not such a big deal, And that's only one factor. There's a lot of other factors besides that. Anyways, but here the Torah is just it's starting from the beginning. It's assuming that these people are sheep and that they don't know how to take care of themselves. But they really do. I mean, just the way this line right here, it is just speaking to me. It's like it's this conversation between me and the guy that wrote it like 2,200 years ago. It's like there's this guy, probably a guy, maybe it's a woman, it could be, who's like, okay, they're thinking, okay, I'm going to write down this line. And what I'm going to say is that these people are so ineffectual and they're so uh, broken and so sheepish that they can't handle anything. And so they're going to go to, they can't do anything without their beloved leader. And so they're going to go to Aaron, who's the substitute for their beloved leader. And they're going to have their beloved leader, Aaron, make them a golden cow, you know, so that they're familiar with how they used to live in Egypt. That's what the writer's saying, But what the writer's really saying is this is what I think about people. I think people aren't capable of organizing themselves. They're incapable of asserting, they're incapable of doing exactly what they do all the time. I mean, people take care of themselves just fine without any leaders. They take care of themselves just fine. And that's what we've done ever since the beginning of human evolution. There was never any leader who created human evolution. It just happened. We've always been animals and we've always been able to take care of ourselves. That's how we survived 500 million years on this planet. I mean, our ability to take care of ourselves is hardwired in our instincts. And we know how to take care of each other too, because we've been doing that for hundreds of thousands of years. Um, I mean, we're not always the best at it, but we already are hardwired with the ability to take care of each other. It's one of our genetically adaptive traits. We're social animals and we take care of each other. So, so we don't need a Moses, we don't need an Aaron, we don't need a golden calf. We don't need any of those things. All we need is each other. Anyways, so so then Aaron said, "Take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, your daughters." So this is the gold. This is the gold that they're supposed to be bringing to the Mishkan to build the altar. And it's also the gold from Egypt. So it's the gold that they took from the Egyptians. But then it's also the gold that the Egyptians paid them for 400 years of slavery. So that's what this gold is. And they're going to throw it all together. So they're engaged in collective behavior. I mean, they're actually working together. Here's something compelling them to work together. But what really compels people to work together is mutual self-interest. You know, I mean, when people have mutual needs and they're able to mutually support each other, and when they're able to work collectively for the better good of a society, that's really what compels people to to work with each other. Now, capitalism will teach you that it's kind of competitive self-interest and it's greed. Greed is always kind of seen as the baseline foundational element of capitalism. It's like just to get more money. Now socialism will argue that I mean, these different theories have different ideas about what they think motivates human behavior. But I mean, I think that what motivates human behavior is just mutual self-interest. And you know, I mean the fact that the person who wrote this was able to resolve the story. I mean, they were able to resolve the idea that people do have um a compelling need to organize. Now, the author is imagining that all these people are out here in the desert and that they're gonna like actually follow this person. Like what? I mean, it already assumes that they're bought into the narrative. It doesn't he doesn't really give them any other choice in the narrative. I mean, the people the people are basically kind of puppets here. It's like I said before, they're sheep, They're kind of puppets. They're written almost in the same kind of wooden puppet fashion that the text writes the Pharaoh. Only when the text writes the Pharaoh in the story, it's really clear that the Pharaoh is kind of a wooden text, kind of a wooden puppety sort of figure. He's just this block of wood that's being molded by the god. But here the author, the redactor is kind of doing that to the people because it's just one of the things that religion does. I mean, it kind of turns you into a puppet in a way. So the people, Moses makes the golden cow, and the people exclaim, "This is well, it's not really clear who says it, but this is your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and he announced, "Tomorrow shall be a festival of God." So Aaron's confused about who God is, and the people are confused about who God is. And that's because they just they basically want to have a party and they want to have some fun. So they bring sacrifice, which it also tells you. Again, here the text is telling you not just that this is how these people like to party and have fun, but that this is actually how you party and have fun too, because this is completely indistinguishable from how people do sacrifice in the other way. I mean, it's the same thing. They're basically just doing the same thing that they do when they do temple sacrifice. I mean, and it's basically telling you how they do it right here in this text. It opens it up. It's like, here's how they did temple sacrifice. They bring burnt offerings. They bring sacrifices of well-being. They sit down and eat and drink, and they rise and they dance. This is actually what they do when they actually have the other kind of temple sacrifice, which is the permitted kind, and this is the unpermitted kind. So, so then the narrator imagines that this is going on and God and Moses are like communing together, like up on top of the mountain. They're having this moment of oneness, connected connection with each other. And all of a sudden God wakes up and he's like, poof. This is the Buddha, the Buddha in deep meditation. And the God speaks to him anyways, and he says, "Hurry down, for your people whom you brought out of Egypt have acted basely." So the God, I mean, why is he telling Moses to do this? Why doesn't God take care of this himself? God does everything else in the Torah. He he does all these things. So if he's concerned about this so much, then why doesn't he go down and take care of the problem? But instead he makes Moses do it, because yeah, you know, this is just what Moses is. This is how he's written. He can't Moses can't help it. He's just written that way. This is how Moses is written. So Moses has to take care of it. And of course, I mean, who's Moses in the text? I mean, I think it's really clear when you really think about this. Moses is the person who wrote the text imagines that they're Moses. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, it's not that they don't, I mean, obviously the person who wrote the text is not Moses, but I mean, I think that they kind of imagine that they are, like they're they're somebody who either they want to have religious authority or they do have it, or they're writing from the perspective of having a religious authority in their imagination. But however it exists, whether there's some kind of reality about this in the life of the author of the text, or whether it's just their fantasy. But whatever it is, they want to be Moses. They really want to be Moses. And this is what is going on in their imagination. They're just like in their imagination, they're like, oh, if I just had this kind of control, this is what I would do. So, I mean, they're not just Moses. In their imagination, they're also God, you know? I mean, they're the ones writing the text. So they're imagining the world they're imagining God. So yeah, they're not just Moses, but they're also God. But they're also imagining the people, and they just can't control the people. The people who are writing the text, they just they realize that they can't control the people. And no matter what they try to do, I mean, here in the text it's horrible. They go around killing all the people. And even that doesn't work. Even if you kill a bunch of them, you still don't control them. And the reason you can't control them is because you can never control people. You never can. You never will. People are always born free. I mean, until you genetically engineer that out of human existence. And I don't think you ever can. I mean, if you do that, then I think you're basically creating something that's dead. But you can't ever, people are always born free, and people always want freedom, and you can never control that. Anyways, this has been really fun. This has been Exodus. This is Parsha Ki Tisa, and I didn't get to anything else in the Parsha except for this, but I really enjoy it. I love my Jewish tradition. I think it's so much fun and it's so interesting, and I love being able to just talk about it. And I hope that you will enjoy whatever experience in your life you have. If whatever floats your boat and gets you up in the morning and gets you through the world. I wish you a wonderful week and a joyous week and a meaning-filled week. So thanks so much for joining me today for Atheist Torah Study.